Hello and welcome back to Sexy Sips, Tufts University's sex health podcast, where we talk about sex, love, romance, intimacy, and everything related to sex. We have a very special episode for you today, and we will be interviewing some Tufts students about their experiences with asexuality and aromanticism. But before we begin, let's do some introductions. My name is Caro. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a senior. I do not identify as asexual or aromantic.
I can go next. My name is Hazel. I'm a sophomore. I do identify as asexual and probably panromantic. And I also go by they, them pronouns.
Hello, my name is Quan. I'm a sophomore also, and I identify as ace, and I go by they, them pronouns.
My name is India. I go by they, them. I am asexual for sure, and I think I'm coming to the conclusion of being aromantic too.
We got a room full of they, thems.
I know, it's actually crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, so we'll just get right into it. I think Hazel wanted to start with a little bit of a explanation about just what it means to be ace and aro, and then maybe a little brief history lesson on the history of aromanticism and asexuality. So Hazel, if you want to take it away, and we'll interrupt if we have anything to say.
Nice. Okay. I forgot to mention I'm also an LGBT center intern, so I am here because of that. So asexuality and aromanticism is typically defined. Asexuality is typically defined by a lack of sexual attraction to other people, or it is a spectrum, so it could just be a wide array of anything that might be considered non-typical sexual attraction, if you will. And then aromanticism follows a similar story of not really having the desire to pursue romantic interests and other stuff like that. Anyone else want to give their 2 cents on stuff like that?
Yeah, I think one thing we should probably know is that yes, like Haley had said, it's like a spectrum. So it is possible to maybe experience a little bit of sexual attraction, but it's mostly not there in most cases.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks for that introduction. We're definitely going to dive more into what that means later, because I think it is such a big spectrum, and we want to get a chance to think about what that means for everybody in this room. But before we do that, I think we should do a quick history lesson, because this isn't just a new fandangled thing. Asexuality and aromanticism has, of course, been around for as long as people have been around. So I think Hazel has some cool history if you want to share it with us.
Yeah, I can definitely give some cool little history. The latest thing I could find that was definitive was from like the 1890s about a Magnus Hirschfeld dubbing the term anesthesia sexual, which would later become asexual as far as I can tell. Ace history is generally hard to track. It used to be confused with homosexuality and bisexuality and celibacy and all that stuff in the past, mostly just because it is such a personal thing. No one can tell you that you're ace. It's not a visible thing. And then in 1948, we started seeing a bit more representation. The Kinsey scale, which was a research model of sexual orientation that ranged from like 0 to 6, 0 being completely heterosexual, 6 being completely homosexual, gave the category X for people, males specifically, who reported no sociosexual reactions. We would probably find this a little constraining nowadays, but it was considered relatively revolutionary for its time. Apparently, 1.3% of males reported that they were in this X category. Same thing happened in 1953. They did the same thing for women, and women ended up being 19%, which is a lot more, which is very interesting. And that was in 1953. We got the Asexuality Manifesto in 1972, which accidentally perpetuated and established a lot of asexuality myths, because this manifesto was written by Lisa Orlando on behalf of the Asexual Caucus of the New York Radical Feminists. And so they basically use the term asexuality for a very political statement, and they framed it as a choice rather than a sexual orientation. In 1980, we got the DSM-3 that included a inhibitive or hypoactive sexual desire disorder, which in 2013 in the DSM-5 is revised to exclude those who self-identify as ace.
What is the DSM for those of us who may not know?
Yeah, so the DSM is the Diagnostic Statistic Manual.
Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders.
Thank you, Quan. And there's been, 5 editions. And it basically outlines all of the known psychological mental disorders that we know of and how to treat them, how to identify them, how they may appear, etc. So this kind of ties in asexuality's history with other queer identities as being perceived as a disorder until recently being genuinely considered a disorder, which is unfortunate, but it has been changed. I just want to say it was 33 years that was not changed. And then in 2001, we got the Asexuality Visibility and Education Network, founded by David J., which was really interesting. And then in 2010, we got the Asexual Pride Flag, which was introduced to the public. And then since then, there has been increased awareness, visibility, and acceptance that we have seen since then, which is very good.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I feel like the history part I was really interested in because it was like if we start in like the 1890s with the anesthesia sexual and then we go to like the DSM, there's just like this huge history of pathologizing asexuality, and like obviously this is true for a lot of, if not all, other queer identities as well, but like the transition from being like, you're asexual, you have a mental disorder, like that shift is so recent.
Word.
And that is
people
a bit
still
frightening.
think like that for sure too.
Like 2013, that was only 12 years ago.
Yeah, and that's crazy.
That's insane.
I wonder for like the higher percentage, I wonder if like for the higher percentage for women has anything to do with like compulsory heterosexuality and like people thinking that they should enjoy certain sexual acts that they just don't, and they think that they like don't like sex at all because they actually just like something else.
And also this ongoing like idea that, men are supposed to be the one enjoying sex and seeking it rather than women. That could definitely have an impact. I think even today in terms of asexuality, I think it might be like 1% of the population. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think I am. It's some low number, but a good majority of those individuals, at least in America, are women or those who identify as women, non-binary people, etc.
Yeah, I also think it's just interesting, like the people in this room, all 4 of us use they, them pronouns. And I just thought that was an interesting crossover. So there's,
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of crossover in the queer community.
Someone said, me and Hazel used to work at Hodge together. Shout out Tufts Dining. One of our coworkers once, I don't even remember which one. Oh, actually, yes, I do. Anyways, was like, I clocked that you were asexual. I knew. Like, when you said that you were like so many of my like non-binary friends are asexual, and like I knew that like that you would be in the way that you talk about things and stuff, and I was like, how did you know that?
I have like accidentally formed a circle around myself of non-binary asexuals. Like,
I wonder where that comes from.
I also wonder. It could just be Tufts nature.
That's so interesting that your coworker was just like, hey, you're ace and I can tell. Like, how did that make you feel when you were...
I've had more than one person say that to me.
What is the ace vibe? What is visible about it?
Can we curse on this?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we get no bitches. I'm like, how did you know? How did you know I don't have a roster, bro? How did you fucking know? What the fuck did you just call me? Yeah, no. Yeah, like no play. But I've had more than one person say that to me, which I think is really interesting, and I don't know what about myself gives that vibe. I've also had a lot of people say that I don't give the vibe like I would be in a relationship, which is fucked up, honestly, just like baseline, but I'm like a very like friend person, which is like also an odd thing to like from vibe. I'm assessing that you will not get married in your lifetime.
There's something I want to say as a huge psych nerd. I will tell you there is a study that shows that not ace people, but apparently straight people can detect gay people's accents with approximately 80% accuracy. Is it 80%? I don't know. It was like a pretty high percentage though. So I don't know if there's actually an ace accent. And
what is the ace accent?
What is the ace accent? That's a good point. Is there an ace accent? But that could be one hypothesis.
This feels like a great segue to just like talking about your experiences, if you feel comfortable, like on Tufts campus, about being asexual and like the myths that you have had to face as ace arrow folks, like in this campus. Like I'm assuming there's been some crazy experiences, as we can already tell. So if anyone wants to share, no pressure.
Honestly, I like after high school, because people don't really like asexuality is not something that people it's like it's not centered like at all. People don't like want to write that A out of LGBTQ IA. They're like, it's for ally. I'm like,
It's
Did they really say that?
Yes.
Yeah. And like there's a lot of like controversy on whether or not it is a queer identity, which I think is interesting. And I don't know, whatever. We don't have to get into that this very second. But after high school, I kind of stopped telling people that I was ace. Like I've told a few people here like explicitly, but like people just don't like understand and ask a lot of like honestly stupid questions. And like I'm okay with educating people. Like I'm like Black and queer and non-binary, and like I've been in like predominantly like white and like spaces where I'm just like the minority a lot. And so I've gotten very used to like educating people and making it chill. But that's just something that like people don't think about like competently for some reason, and like don't draw like rational conclusions about. And I just don't, it's just like an exhausting conversation to have, of like people assuming things that they don't like necessarily know, or making like negative assumptions, or yeah. So I haven't really told that many people, because like people have like very odd ways of accepting that information. But yeah.
Yeah, I will say I've kind of had, at least compared to where I'm from, I am from Dallas, Texas. It is much better here. When I was in high school, it was like a sophomore year thing where it like finally clicked to me. Like we were starting to get to the age where like, even if it was like technically illegal, people were engaging in sexual activities. And it got to the point where I was like, what is wrong with everyone? This is not a thing that intrigues me whatsoever. And I was like the only ace person I knew in my high school. My high school consisted of like 5,000 people, mind you. So I knew no one else that was ace. And I come to Tufts, and suddenly, like I said before, I have a circle of asexual and non-binary individuals around me. It's like every other person I come across is ace or arrow, and it is refreshing. But then that could also be my little queer bubble, because every now and again you do come across those people where it's like, oh yeah, I'm ace, and they're like, ace of what? I'm like, no, like asexual. They're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
They clearly have not.
Yeah, no. It's very like literal like translations or like ideas about what that could possibly mean that like aren't like all encompassing of what like asexuality is, or like the fact that like everything in the queer community is a spectrum and everybody is different. Yes. And people don't think about that, which is so non-queer and stupid.
Yes, yeah. It is so non-queer. Just one of the big ones I faced is people being confused that I would possibly seek out a romantic relationship despite being ace. They're like, oh, I thought you were ace though. And I'm like, but that's not arrow, that's a different thing. Mm-hmm. And people always want to lump those together, which is a different topic. How the only identities talked about are arrow ace rather than just arrow or just ace. Mm-hmm. But that is for maybe later.
Yeah. I would say that personally, I've had my fair share of identity crises, and
mm-hmm.
And I actually
you haven't come out 3 times. I'm gonna be,
yes,
that's so real.
I actually came out our ace like earlier this year, but it's actually been a wild journey, because it was during like high school where I was like grappling with this like dilemma because at the time I wasn't sure if I was actually like ace. It's really weird. Like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, I guess like, you know, like we're in the adolescent years, you know, puberty is happening and stuff. But like, for me, I just never felt like some sort of like desire. Like, sure, like, you know, maybe somebody could be like hot in like the physical sense and be like, yeah, I think they're pretty and stuff.
Like aesthetic attraction.
Yeah, it's like some of that stuff. But like, and then there's also like the parts, it was like, there were moments in my life where I also felt some like sexual arousal. So I was like, wait, if I can feel horny, does that make me not ace? And then it took me a while to realize that arousal doesn't necessarily mean attraction, right? Like, sure, you might feel something physiologically, but psychologically, it's just not there. And I was just, and this was the like clear opening moment, the clear like light bulb moment for me. I was like, so I am ace. It's like, yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, it's a spectrum. So it's like, I think that because I found it really hard to like identify with other people that were ace, I thought that I wasn't ace, and then that contributes a whole bunch of like confusion. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, I feel like now that I'm really thinking about it, like, I feel like here the most that I get, even from like close friends, like, I don't talk about or get to talk about like my queerness and like really like dive into it as much as I would want to, always with like my closest friends, because I don't have very many like trans or non-binary friends or that are very close to me. And like most people I'm around are queer, but they don't possess the same like nuance of queerness or like need for nuance that like I have and like want to talk about it, and it doesn't like consume them, I guess, in the same way that it has for me. And so I feel like I find a lot of times there's like this like want to like unearth that like asexuality like doesn't exist, like this want to like be like, okay, but like you feel this way about this person, so like that doesn't, like that means that you aren't, like you say you're asexual but like you feel this way, or you say you're asexual but you would kiss a person, but you say you're asexual but, and it's just like, I did tell you that thing about myself because I thought it was true. I did tell you that thing about myself because I am within like my own body and I know myself, I hope, better than you.
But maybe you know better than I do. Who
yeah,
knows?
But I guess it doesn't exist. I guess you're right. But yeah, I've
solved
definitely
me.
You solved it.
You fixed it.
By golly. Yeah, no. I've definitely had like, I'm getting to the point of thinking like I think I might be aromantic, but like it's taken a very long time, and also of me like not wanting to be aromantic and not wanting to like be like lonely or like feeling like that's what that means. But I've always felt this like pull towards certain people, and like I've tried to like understand it as like some sort of like romantic thing, or like as, because like that's kind of the only way that like the world is able to perceive like the world is very centered around romance, like extremely centered in ways that like we don't even, most people don't, allosexual people, which means not aromantic, I mean ace, allos, like they don't understand how centered they are and how little we think about there being an absence of this thing. And so like in my life, I haven't been able to like, I guess, think about like how I could, I guess, center myself or center asexuality in ways. I don't know. I think there's definitely just a inability to see diversity, which is crazy.
Yes, a lot of people don't want to embrace complexity, even if those individuals might be queer themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very much like, and I feel like what you were talking about definitely opens up the conversation to queer platonic relationships, other types of quote-unquote non-conventional relationships that even those who are queer don't realize or don't recognize, or sometimes maybe even choose not to accept, because it's like, yes, I am gay, but I'm still going to, you know, marry someone and have kids with them and do the typical nuclear family action. It's just with two men instead, which is very valid and in still dire need of more representation. But it also leaves out the possibility of not following the nuclear family pathway, not following the typical partner, romantic, sexual dynamic. And because we don't see that, it can be very scary coming to the realization of, oh, I'm Ace. What is my future going to look like? Right. Oh, I'm Arrow. Am I going to end up alone, right? I feel like, for myself at least, maybe other people in this room, I've definitely felt that like existential fear of like the future. If anyone else has also felt that way.
Shout out to the existential fear of the future. Shout out to that fear that just hits you when you turn 20 and you're just like, whoa, quarter life crisis? Question mark? Yeah.
No, but yeah, like it's definitely a lot of pressure from like parents, which starts there, and then to peers. You know, my mom keeps telling me, "Oh, you're gonna marry a girl someday," and I'm like,
Yeah, right, bitch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and you're gonna have your own children. Yeah, yeah. Good luck with that one. Anyways, yeah, I'm just like, yeah, no, but I agree. Like, it's. Yeah, and even within the queer community, I was having this conversation with another friend the other day. It was like, we weren't talking specifically about asexuality or aromanticism, but we're talking about like the queer community in general. And it's like how like, you know, there's like some, like, I'm not saying that like, you know, being sexual is a bad thing. You should be proud of yourself, whatever you feel in your capacity. But also, me and my friend, we were talking about like how like there's an overemphasis on like sexual relationships, on like seeing like gay as just like a man having sex with a man, but it's much more than that. Like there's levels to this complexity. So it's not just about the sex. Like sure, the sex plays an integral role for some people, but then for others it may not play as much of an integral role.
I feel like it's like also like additionally hard for queer people, like in a way that it isn't for straight people or cis people, to understand like that there is more to, or that there can be more to queerness, because they don't want to like, I think a lot of people don't want things to get too far. Like if you're able to, and that's like a big issue with like queerness and like self-hatred, is like, what's like, if I have to be queer, what is like the line that I can't cross, you know, like neo-pronouns and having all like in micro labels. It's like, is this getting too much? Are people not taking us seriously enough? And I feel like with people thinking about asexuality and aromanticism, it's like, can this be a thing that we take seriously? Can they take us seriously if we're claiming all of these different things that are like so like cemented within our society that it's so hard for people to like diverge from that like thought process that's so natural to us and so like implicit?
Yeah, it's definitely a trend of not only do we not want to make things like too different from the norm, we don't want to give nuance to those things that are different, because that makes them even harder to understand.
Mm-hmm. God forbid it's complicated. Maybe.
God forbid we embrace complexity. But yeah, that's just like another thing.
For sure.
I think the thing that I'm really noticing is just the lack of nuance in all of these conversations, and like exactly what India was just saying, like to what point is it too far? Like we got the gay marriage, all right, we can stop now, but then you're like, oh no, but then we need trans rights. Okay, well we're like taking a step closer, but obviously that's whatever.
But also a step back.
But also so many steps backwards, and
like a hurdle back.
A hurdle back, and like the A is at the end of LGBTQI, maybe an A. Like it's just it's even in the name. It's so far removed from like the center of queerness at this point. But I wanted to ask a question about, Hazel mentioned something about the future, and I thought that was a really interesting point, that like being ace and being arrow like inherently challenges like the political structure of the world we live in, which is just like a crazy thing to think about when you're like 20 and in college and just like trying to live your life. So I don't know, Hazel and I, before we started recording, we're talking a little bit about different forms of relationship and like how beautiful it is to have like different types of love outside of that romantic love, outside of sexual love. So if you have any perspectives on like platonic love or like love for your pets or like the idea you have for your future that's outside of this like stereotypical nuclear family, whatever. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is so much to like handle and reconcile with when you're, I'm not even 20 yet, right? To reconcile like when you're in college, because there is this big idea that, oh, your college years, your 20s, that's when you meet your person, you meet the one, you're going to spend the rest of your life with them. Like I know people who are currently engaged, who are who are currently engaged. They've been in long-term relationships.
That's crazy. Low-key.
And obviously, I don't.
Low-key crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Obviously, I don't know what happens behind closed doors. But I'm assuming these are fairly non-queer relationships, or at least the ones that I know of. And I know personally, I've definitely had a few late night / early morning contemplations about what is my future going to look like? Am I going to end up marrying someone? Am I going to end up being just like the fun aunt?
Which also, side note about the fun aunt, like what is the non-binary version of? Is it uncle? Like can we figure this out? How do we neutralize this word?
My friends and I have started calling like the non-binary parent MAPA. So if you guys want to start using that, you're welcome to take that. But yes,
I'd love to get into the etymology of MAPA, but we can do that another time.
That's a later thing. No, I will be the fun sibling of the parent.
If you will, just toss some hyphens in there.
Just toss some hyphens in there. The built-in babysitter. There we go. I'll be that fun one that comes around who maybe has 1 too many or 5 too many cats and plants and fun additions to the house. But it's like, who's going to be there with me? Is there going to be someone there with me? Am I just going to like spend the rest of my lives with my best friend in a house?
that's so beautiful.
I know. It sounds
so beautiful. It sounds so beautiful. And in my brain, in my heart, like I know that exists and I know that that's a possibility, but we don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it anywhere. And that's kind of scary.
If I were to marry someone, I already marry them for the tax benefits. That's it. I cannot feel romantic attraction. I'm sorry, okay? I don't understand it. I don't. I'm like no shame to. I have friends who are romantic relationships, and I'm happy for them. I just cannot understand it myself. I don't understand. I tried having a crush in middle school and high school, failed several times, and.
Failed.
What does it look like to you to have a failed crush?
That is a good question. I don't know. It's like it just lasted for like a few months, and then I got over it. And it's just like, and then but everyone else, it's like they're crying over rejections and stuff, and then I'm just.
A few months or a few minutes.
Well, it depends. Like,
Case to case basis. I mean,
you were saying.
No, but yeah, I get the whole like am I gonna be lonely? It's like, I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, I could just get like a pet and then just call it a day. Yeah, there we go. That's better. That's better.
Like,
Hence the 5 cats.
Hence the 5 cats. Yes.
Interesting. I definitely have like a propensity. Ooh, big word.
That was
good. For like
Dictionary moment.
really, yeah. Pull out that dictionary for that one.
Hell yeah.
Spell propensity. No, I'm chill. For like having really deep friendships and like seeking out really, really deep relationships that aren't necessarily romantic, or don't come off in that way, but also have like aspects of romantic relationships like mixed into them. I've like definitely like fallen victim to like the homoerotic friendship more than once. It'll happen again. I'm getting ready for it. It's kind of fun. But yeah, I've definitely like noticed within myself. I think what like got me to the point of realizing kind of recently that like I think I really maybe like aromantic. Like I should like come to terms with this fact is that the idea of having a queer platonic relationship like really excites me.
It's
and
so fun, right?
I love the idea of just like coexisting with somebody and caring about somebody and like loving somebody, and maybe that necessarily isn't romantic in the traditional sense.
Absolutely. And like when it comes to alternate forms of relationships, attraction, love, if you will, the number of times I've had to explain to people no, I am not dating this person. No, I don't like this person. They're just everything to me and I adore them.
Yeah.
It's a bit too many. And like, of course it ties in with the whole, people of opposite or different genders can't be in a can't have like a friendship or any sort of relationship without it being romantic or sexual in some way. I've had to explain a few too many times, no, I don't like him. No, I don't want to get with them. I just adore them. I love this person, but not in a romantic way. I think I had a friend back in high school who, he got a girlfriend, and that was great. I was very excited for them. And someone walked up, because I was known to, like, talk with this person a lot. We were always around each other. They're like, oh, are you upset? Like, didn't you want to be with that person? And I'm like, no. What? They're like, oh, well, you're always around them. You always talk about them. I'm like, yes, because I adore them, but I don't want to be in a relationship with them. I don't. And it's like this expectation that I'm supposed to fight this new girl who he's so happy with because I also enjoy his presence and time. It's just this very like heteronormative idea of people having to be in conflict with other people's partners if they're friends with them.
And very like, I don't know, like
animosity for no reason. Like I wish the best for her. She's such a sweet person.
Yeah. I feel like also like, I don't know if we're ready for this conversation, but like the centering of like monogamy and like
yes.
Western culture, I feel like definitely takes away from like the complexity, the nuance, as we've been throwing around those words, like of relationships and what they can be. I feel like there's also this culture of like individualism, and the only time when you can be relying on somebody is in a romantic relationship, which is very normalized.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I want like to be able to rely on my friends in like a big way.
Yes.
I want to like open myself up to people in a big way, and I want them to do the same for me. And I want that to be like a mutual relationship. And I don't know. I want things to be like big and profound and exciting and like all encompassing and not necessarily mean whatever romance means, because I don't necessarily understand how to sort through my feelings and categorize something as that.
Yeah, like fuck being nonchalant.
The most nonchalant, most chalant person.
Most chalant person, man.
I also
is
like,
me.
It might be word. I think it would be funny to like talk about like the messiness of like being aromantic or asexual and like what you were talking about. 'Cause like I don't know, I've definitely like had like what I feel like are crushes on really close friends or like really felt like a strong pull to people in a way that I can't necessarily describe to them, that like doesn't really translate to our culture and our society.
I've always used the term friend crush. Like I really want to be this person's friend on a deep level.
Yeah, on some other level. Yeah.
On I don't know you enough as we are right now. I want more in our relationship, but not romance.
Yeah, I think it's okay to like admit or understand that there are certain people that you feel things for much more than other people, even if you're not necessarily romantically inclined towards them.
Yeah.
You put it into words.
The amount of times where I remember in high school I was posting something with a friend, and she's a girl, and then everybody's like, oh my god, is that your girlfriend? I was like, the amount of DMs I got of that, and I'm just like, I was like,
oh no.
Part of me was like, I'll play along the joke, but then part of me was like,
word.
Yeah, it's just, no, but yeah, like, as somebody from like a, because you mentioned like individualism, as somebody from a collectivist culture, I'm from China, there's definitely a stark like contrast, right, between like, it's okay to like depend on this and stuff. Now, granted, like collectivist cultures can have their own little issues and stuff, but that's a whole other story, and it's a big discussion about like sociology and whatnot. But like the point is like, yeah, like you're about like, it definitely feels very hyper individualistic here.
No, for
and like
sure.
it's like, and
I think it sucks, honestly.
And it's like you're not. It feels like you're like isolated from other people, and like
and you want to be.
Yeah,
You can't feel your feelings outwardly.
Yeah.
You can't make that known.
Yeah, you're born alone and you die alone, so therefore, like, in between, like, we should be alone.
Keep the trend going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why the like romantic relationships in this like individualist culture become so profound and so emphasized and prioritized because like in our culture, like we do not rely on friends. Like it's weird if you live with your best friend like past the age of 30. Like it's weird if you are talking to your family all the time and you're like an old lady with cats or whatever if you don't have a husband or whatever it is, because like it's
only one option.
There's only
for
one
what
option.
you
Exactly.
can do with a profound relationship, and that's romance.
And that's romance.
Yeah.
You said something about how it's easier sometimes to just play into like what other people think about you. What's your experience with that? Like having to play to be the joke, to like be that.
Yeah.
To play the part, put on the mask.
Yeah. Wait. No. I also latched onto that, and I wanted to say something because I feel like there's like this like feeling of like lameness that comes with being asexual or aromantic, because like romance is not just, it's kind of a form of currency, especially in like social settings like here. Ooh. But like it's exciting to like talk about like who you're hooking up with, who you're seeing, who you're dating, like who you like, and that's like a big, like a very central, like a very big part of socialization in general. Like at a certain point in our lives, that just became like a prime focus.
Yeah, it's entertainment, it's drama.
Yeah. And like I remember like every time I like go home to see my friends or something, it's like they have these things to talk about that are like romantic, or that's the only thing they like really want to ask you. They're like, are you seeing anybody or whatever? Every time you see somebody new, they're like, are you seeing anybody? And it's like, there are like other things that happen in my life, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
that's not
like I just finished
the
a new
biggest
season.
Just got a new cat. Like there are other things that like occur in people's lives, and I feel like maybe if we don't make it this like the most like overarching, most important thing, it won't have to be. But yeah, that definitely sucks. Of being like, oh yeah, no, like even like what we were talking about before, like what I said before, like being asexual means that like people are like sensing that I get no bitches. Like it's because like having a roster or like getting with people a lot makes you cooler.
Exactly. And that also ties into hookup culture and virginity, and that's a whole different topic. It's like, are you going to be a forever virgin? I'm like, why does that matter?
Maybe.
Maybe that's not a bad thing. And that's such a wild thing that you have to confront, because no one wants to talk about that part of our culture and that part of, because some people do find it distasteful, but yet they still fall into it anyway. They're like, oh, well, yeah, virginity doesn't matter, but
No,
it
but,
still
like,
does.
Yeah, deep down inside. It's been like solidified into our culture in such a way that like implicitly, of course, you definitely do care or like think about it.
And obviously, like it is with every queer identity, well, how do you know if you've never tried it?
Bruh.
That one.
It's like I have to go through all of that to figure it out.
I don't think I
Feels
want
like
to
a
go
lot of
through
work,
all of
bro.
that.
That's also such a crazy thing to say, especially to an ace person, because like if you're aced, it's like, oh, you have to fuck somebody,
Yeah.
which is an incredibly intimate,
Go through all of these steps.
traumatizing.
Yeah. Hours of your life. I mean, getting to that point
Yeah.
at the.
Oh,
We wouldn't know, would we? I mean, shit.
We also need to acknowledge some ace people do enjoy sex. We're
Yes.
just not that.
Yes.
We just-
We're just
yeah.
not that group.
Like, I'm not sex repulsed, I don't think. But, like, that's another thing of, like, I don't know. Maybe you would want to have sex. It just, like, for me, it's like I just don't feel horniness or sexual attraction, which is I was driving with my mom in the car. I was trying to explain, like, asexuality to her. And I was like, yeah, I just, like, don't feel horny. This woman, like, almost, like, damn near, like, stopped the car. She's like, you don't feel horny. I'm like,
Do I need
no.
to see a doctor?
No. Yeah, that's another thing. My dad, like,
Oh, yikes.
but yeah. No, yeah. My dad does not think that asexuality exists. He's a very he's a writer. He's big on romance. And he does not think that like asexuality, aromantic. He thinks that there's something like mentally wrong with you, to feel that way. Like something's like knocked out of place in there. You know, like something's missing from my brain. Maybe there is, but
We're content with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of chilling, honestly. I feel like I have so much. That's what people say to me too. Actually, this is like a funny thing that people say when they find out I'm asexual. It's like, you must have so much time on your hands. I'm like, yeah, I could write a book.
And maybe you should.
Hey.
This could be a transition into, have you told your parents? What was that reaction?
That's a great question.
Yes.
Clearly.
Yes.
Nope.
Yeah.
At this point, we've gone to a point where my family is like, one person in my family is like, man, woman, gay, whoever you decide to marry,
Love it.
We'll support you. And I'm just like, okay, we got the
We're going in the right direction.
we got the marriage, not solely man down. Okay, great, love that. But I think
and they in there.
the they, I know.
Okay.
Again, one person in my family. But I think beyond that, I think only one person in my family, like, understands that I could be ace, and that is my aunt. Mind you, the only reason this got brought up is because she works in, like, an OBGYN, and every time I came home from college, it was like, so, have you done anything that you want to tell me about? Oh, my God. Sorry, I'm, like, cringing thinking about, mind you, car conversations are the worst. You are trapped in a metal box, a metal
car
prison.
coming out. Ayo.
Oh my God.
Yikes. Tried that once.
And
Didn't go well.
I just got so sick of her asking every time, like, oh, have you done this? Is there anything we need to check? We'll support you. I just want to help you make sure, you don't get, like, pregnant or anything too young or whatever. Because all my aunts did. It's besides the point. A little bit of paranoia there.
You're like the manifestation of that not happening. Like,
yes.
Like, it's never gonna happen, eh?
No, and I had to tell her, I had to sit down because I was so sick of it. I had to, like, in that moment be like, no, I have not, and I don't think I will because I don't want to. Do you know what asexuality is?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to minorly explain this to her. And it was actually, like, a relatively mild response. Mind you, we were, like, getting off the highway. Like, we were almost home. This is not a time to have, like, a long, in-depth conversation. She was like, oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, word.
And then we pulled into our driveway.
It's a good response, honestly.
My family doesn't talk about things, so I don't think anyone else knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, we got two people who are accepting of a non-conventional relationship from me.
Hell yeah.
Let's see where that goes.
Yeah. No, it's funny you mention your aunt, because my aunt also did. When my cousin came to visit for vacation this year, earlier in January, the first thing this person came, mind you, I haven't seen her in years, okay? The last time I was in China was when I was 8 or something, okay? The first thing she asked me is, do you have a girlfriend? And I'm just like, I know earlier I was complaining about hyper-individualism here in the West. But there's also issues with collectivism if that collectivism is also connected to heteronormativity. And that's the issue here, okay? You see traditional China, okay, it was more so like, I wouldn't want to say indifferent, but they weren't really against it. But then came like like Western colonization, of course. Ill. There's actually some debates about whether China had homophobia before Westerners came, or was it the inverse? But either way, that happened. And then enter the modern era, we're starting to climb right back up to acceptance. But the older generations who had that conception of like prejudice and stuff, they still hold it. And also keep in mind that China does still have this like culture of like family, progeny, marriage, this kind of stuff. So collectivism is nice in that we have this kind of interdependence. But from my personal experience, there is still this like just this pressure to conform, and that's kind of like the I wouldn't say it's the complete opposite of individualism, but individualism does kind of have the advantage of like, oh, you go by your own way. So that's something I will say is nice about being here, but like still like, come on now, like.
Yeah. But one thing that is kind of good about the individualistic American culture is many people, well, I guess the more accepting people definitely adopt this idea of, do whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't impact me. And I will, accept, support, be chill with, whatever that is. But I am like, I come from a Hispanic family, which is not as collectivistic, I think, as the East can be, but family is very valued. Sucking it up so everyone stays happy, even if it's not the best, is definitely a practice. So I am kind of nervous for that question of like, oh, well, what about grandkids? Like, what about family? What are you going to contribute to the family? Like, what are you going to do? Are you just going to go away from us and like live your own life and never come back? Dealing with that and stuff. I feel like we've gotten really off the rails. What was the initial question?
I don't know. I'm really happy we've gone off the rails.
Parents,
honestly, kind of fun. Oh yeah, family, relations.
I feel like people have an issue with their kids or people they know or just people in general being asexual because it seems like an absence of something really big in their life when. If I'm I feel like this comes up with like disability too, or like I don't know, like we're both in ASL together actually too. And like a thing that comes up there is like if somebody's like you can't comprehend the idea of like living your life without something that you have. Like if somebody else is like deaf, you're like I feel so bad for them. I can't imagine not having this sense that I rely so heavily upon, but it's like they don't have that sense. So like they are a whole person without it, and they have never necessarily needed to have that, and so they've adapted in the same way that we've adapted to like just living here and being nurtured the way that we have to being deaf and to not having that sense. So it's not like necessarily the absence of something, and that's the same thing for like asexuality or aromanticism. But obviously culture, in the same way that it affects like deaf people and not having certain things not being steered towards them and not being geared towards them in society, it's the same way for like asexuality and aromanticism.
No, and then they'll use that worry of, oh no, we're just worried about you. We just don't want you to end up alone. We just don't want, as like an excuse to be non-accepting of their children. And that's unfortunate. Clearly.
Yeah.
We do have to wrap up pretty soon here, but before we do, I am just wanting to end on a positive note. So I think we've covered a very wide range of conversation topics, which I'm very happy about. No, that's exactly what I was hoping for this. I would just love to know, like, your favorite part, the most joyful part of your experience as ace, arrow, somewhere on that spectrum, if there's any experiences or relationships that you'd like to name as being really joyful.
You can go, India. I feel like you can have a better, more coherent response than I was going to give.
I was just going to say I feel like I love really, really hard, and I have a care for people that isn't necessarily easily comprehended by people who let romantic relationships or romantic attraction and love like take a very distinct center in their life. And I think, I don't know, I realized this recently, but I have like certain relationships that I feel like I open myself up to in a different way than I do with others. And I feel like these are, I guess, my like best friends. And I like have had like, especially like since we're getting older and we're falling into more like domestic spaces with people, it's easy to like see people all the time and want to care about them a lot. And I realized that it feels really, really good to love people like in an all-encompassing way, and to make people feel like they're accepted and feel like they're cared about. And like on the flip side of that, sometimes I don't feel that myself, but it feels like something is so fulfilling about loving people to an extent that they think that you're just good at love, when really like I don't think like love or loving people and making people feel loved is really a profound or hard thing. I think people just don't think about it enough or care enough to try. And I think because I don't have that like specific like straightforward easier route of like the societally accepted route of just like falling into crushes and attraction and Hinge and dating in ways that are like conventional and traditional, I like am able to love people in a way that they don't necessarily see often. And it makes me feel good to be able to like love people in a way that they don't necessarily get to experience, because we don't try to love people in complicated and deep ways when they aren't necessarily our partner. And like, because what we talked about before of like there being like this like monogamous culture, like people are not used to feeling love like that always outside of that specific box. And so I don't know, it feels really nice to feel like I'm able to like fulfill others in a way that is like very pure and real, and like devoid of wanting anything out of it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. Totally.
Oh my God, man. You like, yeah. Oh, no. Beyond saying the very basic thing of, I love having a community of people who understand me. Because I do love that. I do love that. Since coming to Tufts, I have found, obviously, other ACE individuals, including the ones here in this room, where it's like, you get it, and we're able to share this, like, understanding together. But a lot of what you were saying, India, about, like, I love showing other people that there is so much more to love and relationships. And I am not Caro, at least I don't think I am, so I can't necessarily speak about loving people as an absence of romance, but there are definitely, like, I do feel like I have so much love in my heart to give to anyone that the idea of, like, monogamy and everyone you like more than a friend, I'm saying this in air quotes, that you like more than a friend needs to be considered a romantic entanglement. I just love this idea that I can give so much to other people and show people what it can, and just like give love to the world. It's great without having to be like, we are now in this committed relationship. And just showing other people different forms of love and care and kindness and all that fun stuff. I think that's really, really beautiful, really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, it's definitely feels more authentic. Yes. I would say yes.
There we go. That's the word.
That's the word. Yes. And yeah, it's like there isn't this like I don't have to feel like I have to do this or that. I can ground myself in, maybe simpler things, and like sex and romance, all that kind of stuff. It just like for me personally, it does make things more difficult. So it's nice to just
complicates
things.
Yeah,
it just complicates things. And so it's nice to have like just like friends, basically. Yeah, that's just like having like like I don't have to like do this or that, whatever. I just want to care about someone.
Mm-hmm.
Being free of expectations.
Yes, and also like it definitely gives like a newer like perspective into things. Being like like not conforming, it's like it really makes you see the world differently.
Just opens up a bunch of possibilities.
Yes, yeah. So just like it's really nice to have like something that gives me like in some ways it simplifies things for me, but also introduces me to new dynamic cool stuff. And it's like, whoa, human relationships doesn't have to be one specific distinct, just be who you be.
Yes.
That was amazing. Thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast.
Of course.
This was a dream come true. I've been wanting to make this episode for like 3 years now.
Nice.
I'm really happy
Awesome.
the ducks fell in a row, but truly thank you so much for sharing your experience.
No, I'm joking.
It's true,
There's
you
3
were.
of them. 3 dogs.
There's 3 ducks.
We got 3 little ducks.
But thank you so much for sharing your experiences and being so vulnerable. I really,
Thank you
really
for letting
appreciate
us and giving us an opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for providing a space.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
Like inserted myself into this somehow. Like Hazel was just like chatting about it like idly, and I was like, I'm asexual. Like.
And I was just like, that's actually perfect.
This is definitely not a horse that's been beat incessantly.
Certainly not.
This is a very fresh, unbruised horse.
Yeah,
It's true. We usually end this podcast by saying stay safe and stay sexy, but I feel like that's not super appropriate for this episode. So
yeah,
you can be sexy and ace, can you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does that feel appropriate?
Wait, guys, I'm in burlesque this semester.
That's so exciting.
Perfect
Yeah.
example.
Oh wait, were you in burlesque?
I was not in burlesque, but I'm considering it like next year maybe.
Okay, I'll tell you about my experience.
You tell
Let's
me.
do that.
That's another thing we could have talked about, but yeah.
Different topics.
Different topics. Well, would you like to say it with me if that feels
Hell yeah.
feels appropriate?
Sure.
All right, thank you so much for listening. This has been Sexy Sips. You can find us on Instagram at Tufts SHR. And in the meantime, stay
Stay
safe
safe and stay
sexy.
sexy.